It's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore, Racing's golden duo!
Tiger Roll joins the greats and beats Magic of Life.
Best behaviour on the near side with the wettest of saves for Barry Brown and Oliver McKiernan. Local trainer Derek McLaughlin again, the honest Lord Lyon wins it from...
It's Sampo on the stand side before he had the second last. Fahey lands in the lead by half a leg and goes on from Sampo.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of We're Going Chasing. We're 8 days out from the Cheltenham Festival, 8 days out from that famous Cheltenham Roar, 8 days out from potentially one of the greatest hurling performances we've ever seen from Constitution Hill, and 8 days out from possibly Killian losing his hole on no hopers. You'll all only rest your head on the pillow 8 more times between now and the drop of the flag in the Supreme Novices Hurdle, unless again you're Killian. It may be somewhere between about 12 and 14 with daily naps.
Yeah.
But look, keeping in We're Going Chasing tradition, we've got a few special guests here with us today because we're on the cusp of a major festival. This time round, we're joined by two well-known faces in the GA world who are now ambassadors for the Caman Racing Club. Neither man will need an introduction to GA fans. TJ won 2 Munster hurling titles there with Limerick and later managed them, and while Mark also won 2 Munster hurling titles and captained them to All-Ireland glory in 1999. So, lads, thanks very much for joining us. And I suppose before we go on any further, would you be able to tell us a bit about the Caman Racing Club?
Thanks, Killian. Yeah, sure. I suppose, look, I say a few words, and TJ now will say a few words, but I suppose it was a racing club that was set up on the back of the Dalo podcast show, and there seemed to be a lot of appetite from people that were tweeting in afterwards to be, after listening to the show, because from time to time we'd be discussing horses and discussing Cheltenham and Dubai and going to Punchestown and places like that. So there seemed to be a feeling on the ground that members would like to have a race horse. So we threw it out to the public to see if there was an interest. And within 3 or 4 weeks, we had 500 people that expressed an interest. So we started from that. And I think TJ was a 1 horse last year with Willie Mullins and 2 horses with Jim Balger we had. So I think we had about 14 races last year, and we brought people in from all over the country. And I suppose the racing club's motto has been, the Caman Racing Club, bringing you to places you've never been and introducing you to new people all over the country. So
okay,
that's certainly what has happened. And I suppose we also then have 2 charities that we are aligned with, the Irish Cancer Society and Cleanest Foundation in Limerick, and that will be very close to TJ there. His colleague Brendan Ring will be very much involved in that, Okay, very good. And if people want to get involved with the racing club, is there still slots available, or are you all booked up?
No, James, there's still slots available. So just to touch on what Mark said there, look, I suppose we're all dreamers at the end of the day, and like being involved with a horse, I suppose, is something that obviously kind of tickled my fancy from a long way out, and we've been involved in different bits and bobs. So we got an idea to set up something very straightforward and something really affordable for GAA people and kind of just bring people together. It's €200 for the year. That's your full membership, a bit like being a member of the club. It looks like we're going to have 5 horses on the go in 2023, 3 with Willie and 2 with Jim Balger. And there are some still slots available. You can just log on to www.camanracing.ie. It's very straightforward, very simple, and it's one-off fee, €200 for the year. There's nothing else involved. The horses are leased and they go back to their owners at the end of their racing life, so there's no kind of cash outlay. So we're just paying training fees. That's why it's cheap and cheerful. We knocked great crack out of it in 2022, and we're building. And look, as you guys will be very familiar with, in order to have a runner at Cheltenham, or to try and have a winner at Cheltenham, you have to start somewhere on the ground. You have to try and have a winner locally, whether it's in Tramore or Limerick or Cork or Leopardstown or wherever it is. Try and get on the road. And I suppose, look, I said at the start here, we are dreamers, and we're always hoping that something really, really positive will come at the end of the day. So here's hoping.
Very good, very good. All good things start somewhere anyway. You know, you can't walk straight in to these big days. So the very best of luck with that. And just next week, are you both heading over for the week, or will you be watching from home, or what's the story?
Yeah. I'm a regular goer there since to be honest, my father was a bookmaker back in the day. He started on doing a bit on the rails, and he had 2 local shops. He's retired now, and he still goes. So he probably introduced us to horses from a long way out. So he's been a Cheltenham goer, I think he told me, since the early 70s. And we started going there, myself and my brother and a crew here from Guysplan in 2009. And I've been a regular ever since, except for the COVID year. So we're off again for the week, yeah. So we'll be over there. And Mark's more of a high flyer than me now. He's been to kind of carnivals in Dubai and Ascot and all these places. So we're introducing him, bringing him back in the road to Cheltenham. So I'm meeting him over there next week. So looking forward to it.
Okay.
Back to the national hunt side of things now. I'm lucky enough to go to Dubai. I'm involved with the Caman Racing Club there last year, and so we went to Dubai to launch that racing club, and we had a great crack and met great friends out there and new people again. A lot of them involved in racing themselves, so we had a great time there. And we had Lady Tilbury, obviously, that ran in Ascot last year. So, but one for your notebook now, I managed to buy a leg of a horse out of the Breeze Ups last year, and she's in training with Michael O'Callaghan. Her name is Gozan. So we were lucky enough. She won her maiden last year in Punchestown over 7 furlongs. Beat a horse by the name of Basil Martini of Joseph's by a short head, and she was second in a Group 3 in the Curragh. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her this year. With a bit of luck, she has trained on. It looks as though she has trained on. So on Wednesday morning, I will be going to Michael O'Callaghan's new yard, and really, really looking forward to see how she has filled out. I saw her at Christmas, and I'm seeing her again now, and she'll be, I think she's out the first week of May. The Guineas, just 2 Guineas trials coming up. So fingers crossed, she's an exciting prospect.
Okay. The very best of luck. The very best of luck with her, Mark. And sure, yeah, look, we'll get straight into it. So we're just going to preview Tuesday and Wednesday here today. So we'll start, we look at the 5 main graded races, we'll say, of the Tuesday. Then we'll look at the handicaps quickly afterwards, and then we'll do the same thing for Wednesday. So Killian, you haven't spoke to us yet. We'll start off with you for the Supreme. We Facile Vega there at the top of the market, out to 5-2 after Leopardstown. You're more of a Marine National man.
Yeah, Marine National and LHA Tomps. I don't like Facile Vega at all. I think he's potentially needs it fairly soft to go well. Whereas like Marine National shouldn't be too inconvenienced on the better ground. Same with LHA Tomps. I was watching the forecast there. It does look like they're going to get a fair whack of rain now in the next week.
Yeah.
Which might suit Facile Vega. Because if it came up soft or worse than soft, he will. I don't think he'd be beaten. Just the way his style of racing is, like, I'd say he'd be very hard beaten on that. But if they do get the traditional sort of good to soft going description on the Tuesday, I'd toss a coin between Marine National and LA Tomps, I'd say. I was more in the LA Tomps camp after the Dublin Racing Festival, and like Barry Connell there went on at the races, and he gave he'd convince you to buy anything, I'd say.
Yeah.
And he nearly convinced me, like, so I'm between the two of them. I don't know what to do though.
Okay, very good. What about yourself there, Mark?
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, I suppose the weather is a big thing going over to Cheltenham, because last year I was involved with the dam of Burning Victory, and she ran the first day over there, and the ground was good, and it rained all night, and the following day the going was bottomless. So it is a really, really, Cheltenham can turn soft very fast, and I have no doubt that Cheltenham are watering as well at this moment in time, because the last thing they want to do was, I suppose, is have really quick ground there. So if the rain does come, I definitely would be in the Facile Vega camp, I must say. I'm a big hammers and trowel man myself, so there's a couple of, I suppose, as TGR was called, there's a lot of working men involved there. So I think the Supreme Novices always shows up the best form, and the horses with the best form normally come to the front. I would definitely be in the camp that would be refusing. Would be, I suppose, giving him a pass on his performance in the Dublin Racing Festival. For me, I think they went very, very quick. Himself and High Definition took each other on, and we all saw the videos afterwards where they showed Statement and himself, and he was kind of way in front of him when they matched them up side by side. So I would be a facile Vega fan, I must say.
Okay, very good. And what about yourself there, TJ?
Yeah, I suppose a couple of things. I probably in the Facile Vega camp. We spoke to Patrick recently enough, and he was very positive about it. I think he came out since even publicly and said just he rode Facile Vega work. Our group had a very soft spot for Facile Vega's mother, Quevega, because the first 6 in a row came in 2009, and that was the year that we first went to Cheltenham. So we backed her in 2009, and we kind of followed her path very much from there since. So she was able to deliver year in, year out, no bother in Cheltenham. Facile Vega won there last year in the mud on the Wednesday evening. Ground, I take Killian's point there. It looks like the forecast is changing. Like you're trying to, it's all about potential here. You're trying to visualize when the horse wins this, which one of them will be in position maybe to take on Constitution Hill next year. So you're looking for something with a bit of class. I suppose the worry I'd have from Killian's point of view on Barry Connolly's horse hasn't run since December the 4th. It's a big ask to go from December the 4th straight to Cheltenham. And like I know the horse has been out early. I know he needed a break. I'm just saying like kind of the trends and stats are against it from that point of view. It's hard to know the other novices exactly what's going to run. The English novices, Tamuras, Nichols' horse won the Talworths. Ollie Murphy was kind of giving his horse a chance each way. Might be a price 16-20 to 1 Chasing Fire. Hasn't beat a lot, but it's been impressive in the wins that it's had. But I suppose if you come back to the basic facts are, I'm not sure, maybe you guys know how many novice hurdlers are in Willies, right? But there's quite a lot of them there, and there's quite a lot of them fairly good. And Patrick is fairly adamant that this is the best one. So if that is the case, like that'll do for me. Not a brilliant price. I take that, and could be shorter on the day even.
Yeah, that is very fair. It's a fair point there made on Willie. He's got so many of them, and Patrick has seen him there too every day. He's a very good judge. So as for myself, I think it could open up there, and you could have something there winning at a big price. I don't particularly like a lot of the horses there at the top of the market. Marine Nationale, I do, but that Royal Band Farm maybe isn't as solid as it once was, and it's the length of time that the horse is off the track that is really putting me off him. I can think back to there 2019. You had Classical Dream won, and then you had Thomas Derby and Itchy Feet both second and third. And I think in time you could be looking back at this race and it could be equally as weak. To be honest, I don't know if we have any really class horses in it. I'm actually going to sit on the fence with this one now a small bit. I couldn't go one way or the other with it, to be honest, but I'll have more solid views down the line. But for the sake of going with one, I'd be happy enough there to go with Marine Nationale. And then that'll bring us on then to our second race of the Tuesday with the Arkle 2 mile chase. Mark, we'll start with you on this one. El Fabiolo at the top of the market 6-4, John Bond 13-8, Dice Art Dynamo 11-2. What's catching your eye there at those prices, or is it something a bit further down?
Well, I was a big John Bond fan because I was actually in Yorton the day he was sold for 570,000, and I saw the bidding going on with the man who won the Caravan Parks in the north and Jory Hogan on the line. We didn't know who it was, but once we got over 500,000, we probably put it together that it's JP McManus had the horse. So I have a soft spot for John Bond. I was in Drummahan today. He won his point to point as well. So I suppose he has been a talking horse because of the size of the money and the purchase. Then I'm very fond of El Fabiolo because I have a horse myself, the Toothpicker, and the both of them ran the same maiden hurdle down in Tremor. He beat us only 35 lengths, so I'll be watching out for that form there. And then there's a good friend of mine, Barry Canary, rides out Banbridge and Joseph O'Brien's every day of the week. So I was just having a couple of pints with him last night, and he said to me that John out at Banbridge absolutely walked the house down on Saturday. So I think John Bond and Fabiola obviously are the two main attractions, but from time to time this race does throw up outsiders and stuff like that. So I think it's a really, really good race. Don't know, Dicer Dynamo, he's a good horse, but I just wonder whether he has the class and whether he'll have the pace. Like jumping in pace will be critical in this race. Over 2 miles, you can't afford to miss out and one fence. And for me, I think that the two in the top of the market will certainly fight it out. But I think Banbridge will give a good account of itself as well.
And just on the Banbridge point, did he reckon that Banbridge would be going towards the Arkle or going towards the 2.5 mile? Exactly, yeah.
He wouldn't commit, to be honest, but on which one he was going to. But what he did say to me was that he felt that good ground was going to be vital for him. That you would see the best of him on good ground.
Okay, right. Okay. I'd definitely be interested in Banbridge if he went to this race. I'd much rather see him here in the Arkle than see him going back up in Trip. I think his best form is over 2 miles. And I'd be very interested in Banbridge myself. If he did go here, I know I mentioned him on the podcast at about 20 or 25 to 1 earlier on in the year. But I think personally, I thought the vibes are more likely that he'd be stepping back up to Trip. But look, we'll wait and we'll find out. Aside from Banbridge, I suppose El Fabiolo at 6-4, I prefer him over John Bon. To be honest, he's very good there at Leopardstown, beat a good field, a bit more tried and tested. John Bon was poorish last time out, didn't set the world alight. There was nothing between the two of them at Aintree last year over hurdles, but I'd definitely be siding with El Fabiolo. Killian, will you take it up from here?
John Bon, he's like, there's a lot of talk made of this run in Aintree last year. Like, people are forgetting El Fabiolo went to Aintree a fresh horse, having ran in a maiden hurdle in Tremor. John Bon had a very, very difficult, tough race that would have taken an awful lot out of him behind Constitution Hill in Cheltenham. Like, people forgetting John Bon and Dysart Dynamo, when the flag dropped, the two of them went at it. And it's a miracle, really. John Bon didn't fall further back than 22 lengths. Like, Kilcrut was held up sort of back the field a bit more, and he couldn't get past him. Like, and Kilcrut isn't the worst horse in the world. But John Bon had a very tough race and went down to Aintree, and El Fabiolo still couldn't pass him. I think John Bon's very good. Jumping is a big thing for me around 2 miles sharp track in Cheltenham, and with the speed Dysart Dynamo is going to go, you'd assume like John Bon isn't going to take him on this time. So he'll sit in off him, and Dysart Dynamo is going to go very, very fast, and it's going to put people's jumping under pressure. And I just think that there's a mistake in El Fabiolo that I haven't seen in John Bon yet. And like John Bon, looking like John Bon, Duvan, they were both fantastic jumpers. Like, I think that's a big thing. Nicky said he left him short in Warwick. So
before or after the race?
He said it after the race. So like he said he purposely left him short. Like, I believe him. Like, the form is nothing fantastic. Beating Boot Hill 8 lengths and beating Monmoral 7. Like, it's nothing setting the world alight. Like, but I just don't know. I think he could be very hard to beat. He jumps so well. It's hard for me to escape that. When El Fabiolo, I know he won by 10 lengths in Leopardstown, but he did make a couple of mistakes, and he made a pretty bad 1-3 out. I just think that I don't know. I just think John Bon will capitalize on that.
Yeah, that's a good angle to take too. It's a fair point, TJ.
With Killian all the way here, James, I'd be trying to convince people that this could be one of the best of the week. I think he's huge potential. We're back to the novices, 2 miles. I think he's a better jumper than El Fabiolo. I think he'll have Master Bride. If you go back to the Supreme, like, he travelled equally as well as Constitution Hill. I know he's beaten 22 lengths, but he would have been a super winner without Constitution Hill last year. Before the Supreme Novices hurdle, Nicky was saying it was hard to split them, which is probably a fair compliment. Haven't seen the best of him this year. Like, he obviously made a huge price. I think he was exceptionally impressive in Sandown. Boot Hill came out and won a grade 2 afterwards, and he beat a horse called Caman Racing, came out and won as well. I think there's bits of form there which you can go after, I suppose, which we tend to do when we want him to be on our own side, right? But for me, I think John Bon is, I think he'll win this race, and I think he'll go on to, like, he's the kind of a horse that would be set up lovely to go on and win a Queen Mother Champion the following year. I think he just fits the profile perfect. So John Bunn for certain for me.
Okay, very good. So we have 2 votes for John Bunn, 1 for El Fabiolo, and 1 for Ben Bridge if he turns up here. And Mark thinks he's a nice each way price. Brings us on to possibly the most straightforward race of the week. Constitution Hill. TJ, how far does he win by, and can Stateman get close?
I think Stateman can get close. Like, there's no doubt Stateman's form in a normal year. Like, he beats, let's say, last year's champion hurdle winner. He beat last year's Triumph hurdle winner reasonably comfortably on both occasions. He has ticked all the boxes. Obviously, Willie likes him. And even with all those good hurdlers that Willie have, like to have one that's way out in front is a good sign rather than have 3 or 4 of them kind of on the same mark. So I think he's capable, but I just think the man's a freak. Like, what he's done so far, he just looks exceptional. Yeah. Just when Nico presses the button, it's just instant. Like, it's like a Ferrari, I'd say. So yeah, I've never driven a Ferrari, but I'd say it's just instant. So he'll win. Stateman, I think Stateman could kind of maybe threaten him coming down the hill, but it's definitely 2-horse race for me. I can't see anything else, and I can't see anything. I know he's 1 to 3. He wouldn't be back. A race to watch. And
exactly. It could be possibly the spectacle of the week, really. If he can go and win by 15 lengths. You know, like, it'll be talked about for years, really. Mark and Killian, do you have anything else to say on that?
No, he's just going to go out and win it. Like, yeah, go on, Mark, you're all right.
Yeah, I'm not in that camp. I'd have to say, you know, like, and I'd be a big supporter of the Irish game, to be honest. Like, there is so much pressure on Nicky Henderson and Constitution Hill. I think, like, there's a possibility that he might fluff his lines. I've no doubt on paper he's the best horse going into the race. But he's taking on undoubtedly the best trainer on National Hunt horses for a decade. And William Mullins, like, I think Stateman has yet to do its best, I would say. I would think there's more in Stateman after winning in the Dublin Racing Festival. And, you know, I think this is the Irish against the English. We're not giving a whole pile of hope against this fella. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit in the slightest if William Mullins brings down Nicky Henderson in this race.
Okay. Yes, that's optimistic.
TJ, the Stateman has been marked up with a couple of years. He broke his nose last year.
Oh, his form is good. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah. I just wonder how strong is Constitution. I know very impressive last year and stuff like that, but you know, if John Bunn goes away and gets beaten, TJ, and I can tell you this much, the farm mightn't be stacking up as strong as what Stateman's, and is like, you know, Stateman beat Honeysuckle convincingly enough, and she's after winning the last 2 or 3 champion hurdles. So for me, I think Stateman will give this fella, I think he'll give him enough for it now. That would be my view now.
Okay. A very interesting take on it, but the best of luck with you too. Yeah, I won't. I won't be following you.
I won't be having a bet in the race, right?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
But no. The only thing is, if we're after 3 or 4 points and we're in front, I might just throw a tenner on just for the sake of saying after.
Just for the possibility to gloat after.
Exactly.
Yeah, Killian, are you happy enough there?
Yeah, like, he on everything he's done so far, ratings and times, he's miles clear really on Stateman. But yeah, I do agree there probably is a bit of untapped potential with Stateman. I think he could lift his form up to another level, but I struggle to see can he erode the deficit. Like, Constitution Hill could win by 10 lengths and Stateman could run a career best. You know, that's the kind of animal you're dealing with here. Like, and like, it's just a pity. It's just a pity it won't be a closer contest. But look, he's an unbelievable horse, and he's only 6 as well. Like, hopefully he's going to be around for years to come. Like, so.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'd say Paul Cashman and all the gang in Glenview and Red Barry will be hoping that Constitution Hill will win in it, because he's by Blue Brazil. And we'd say Walk in the Park is very fashionable at the moment, but Blue Brazil is certainly the second sire from a National Hunt point of view. So there's a lot more than the prize money for Nicky Henderson and Michael Buckley involved here. It's a breeding game once Blue Brazil up there with a champion hurdle winner as well. Like,
yeah, very true. But look, we'll We'll park the champion hurdle there, and we'll move on to the mayor's hurdle. And I know we're sort of talking up all the races here on the Tuesday, but like they really are, like this is potentially one of the most competitive races of the week. In terms of grade ones anyway. Like you've Honeysuckle, Marie's Rock, Brandy's Love, Echoes in Rain, Love and Voix. Like you've got some hardened horses there, mares with form in the book, and other young pretenders there who you'd be expecting to bring their game to another level too. Even She Wears It Well at 14-1. Tell Me Something Girl was running very well in the race last year when she was taken down. So it's a fiercely competitive race. Mark, do you have a strong opinion on this one?
Yeah, I suppose my strong opinion is I'm a bit disappointed that Honeysuckle is going to run in this race, I'm sure, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a bit disappointed. I said this to TJ a couple of weeks ago. I thought they should have left her take her chance in the champion hurdle because she is a champion of all champions. And I think this will probably be the last race we might see her ever running in. I don't think she needs to go out on a win. She's already after doing it herself. And I just would have loved to see her, I suppose, try and regain her crown. But like, I think we were all, after last year, we all wanted to see a match between Constitution Hill and Honeysuckle, but it's not going to happen. From way out at the start of the year, I had a few quid on Epitante because I was under the impression from a good source that Epitante was going to run in this race all along. I just didn't see Honeysuckle coming back to take her on, like, you know.
Yeah. I actually, just to cut it across you there for 1 minute, Mark, in all likely, I forgot her when I was going through my list of mares there. She should be here too, like you. So you're, and she was one that I quite liked as well throughout the year. But I didn't think that Honeysuckle would be in front of her either.
Yeah, the funny thing is, James Fenton bought a good filly off me there at the Tat sales. He bought a filly by walking the park out of a half sister to Man Morale, and he just happened to be speaking about She Wears It Well, and he actually was giving it a very, very good sounding now. So wherever that horse runs, if it runs in this race, in the mayor's race, or I don't know, has it any other entries, but he just said to me, he said, keep an eye out for this horse, She Wears It Well, because she is actually back to her best, he said. So that's something, that maybe people wouldn't be aware of. But I think you hit the nail on the head. This is one of the best races of the week, without question.
Yeah, it really is. TJ?
Yeah, I hear you. I'd probably raise you back by saying all the horses are speaking at there have a lot to find with Honeysuckle on ratings. We're probably picking holes on. She's really set the standard really, really high, but like her run, like even the first day out getting beaten by Tihupo, like that form has stood up a little bit since, right? And the last day beaten whatever 4 lengths by Stateman. Like I think if any of the rest of them had a piece of form where they finished 4 lengths behind Stateman, I think you'd be kind of saying, geez, that's a beautiful piece of form. Like, so I think she's a price. I think they're going here because like they think she can win this and it would be a great way to finish off. And like her record in Cheltenham speaks for itself. Is there a case maybe now that she's 9, is the 2 mile 4 would suit her a little bit better rather than maybe kind of cut and trust to the 2 mile? I think she's a bet on day one now, and as I said, I just think the rest of them have to improve to beat her. Like,
yeah, they do. You're dead right there. I suppose she's obviously rated, I think it's 160, and like I was making that point on a podcast there last week, the likes of Love and Voix and Brandy Love are rated there in the high 140s. They have 12 and 13 pound there to make up on her. So even if she has regressed a bit, they still need to step up big time to get close to her. And Honeysuckle would be my pick in the race as well, to be honest. TJ, Killian, you're probably going to row in as well.
Yeah, 100% Honeysuckle. Like as you said, TJ, I think a reproduction of the Hatton's Grace wins this. I don't think she needs to step up on that piece of form. I think running to that level, I'd win this race. By all accounts, Marie's Rock is going to go to the stairs. Nicky's on about supplementing Theatre Glory there as well. To this race. She was a fancy in the Carla Cup, so like he's going to run her and Epitante. So is he going to run Marie's Rock too? He's nothing in the stairs, so I could see her being running the stairs instead. Like, and I just think like Brandy Love, fair enough. She had one great piece of form last year in in the grade 1 in Fairyhouse, but she has to step up a long way to get to Honeysuckle. Like she gave weight to Queensbrook the last day. Was it £9 or something? Got beaten 4 lengths. Like, but you know, she'd have to step up a lot on that. I know it was her first run in nearly a year, but they need to improve to get to her. And like, if Marie's Rock diverts to the stairs, I think Honeysuckle could be an even shorter price. A lot of question marks over the likes of Echoes and Rain. Like, she fell in the Hatton's Grace when she looked like she was going to run well, but I don't know, do I agree with that either, because like she pulled very hard at the early part of the race. So like, was she going to find an awful lot for pressure? Maybe not. Love Envoy has had two very, very weak runs this season, like against poor opposition. Like, she's coming fresh, but she's not battle hardened or tested at all. I just think Honeysuckle is going to go out and win it, and that'll be it. Then she'll be retired. She'll get a big parade there, Punchestown, the day the champion hurdle, and there'll be a big crowd there to see her, hopefully.
Yeah, that's fair enough. We'll move on from that to the final race of the day, and then we'll rewind back a small bit and have a look at the Ultima and the Boodles to see if any lads have any fancies in that. But the final race is what's informally known as the 4 miler, but it's now 3 mile 6. The National Hunt Chase. Gaillard de Manille, a very classy horse there at the top of the market at 5-4. In all likelihood, now that seems to be where he's going. Mahler Mission for John McConnell was second to Churchstone Warrior at Navan in the 10 up there a couple of weeks ago. They follow him in the market at 7-1 and 15-2 respectively. And then it's quite a deep betting heat at the moment. Plenty there at big prices, but they'll probably find it, a lot of those further down the market anyway, will find it hard to catch up with, say, on ratings, particularly with the likes of Gaillard de Manille and that. Killian, we'll start with you here.
I don't know what I bet this race at all. Like, Gaillard de Manille will probably win it, like, but it's a race that gets the odd short one turned over. Like, carefully selected got beaten. Run Wild Fred last year. Like, I'd be hesitant enough in taking a short price on Gaillard de Manille. I know he's the best form in the race. Like, he won there at Christmas. He beat Churchstone Warrior 7 lengths. Going back then, he was third in an Irish National off 154, like third in the RSA last year. Like, he's some very good bits of form, but I don't know what I like to be backing him at 11-10. Mr. Coffee maybe down a bit for Nicky Henderson. Derek is going to ride him. I thought he's a bit untapped at these extreme trips. He was second in the Kim Muir last year on soft ground. I think if it came up soft, he might run well. He might run into a place. That'd be the only one I think, like, but okay. I wouldn't fancy anything else. Yeah, TJ?
Struggling for probably a strong opinion. I'd be with Killian in the sense that 3 mile 6 here last race on the Tuesday, 11-10 is very skimpy. Like, no doubt the best form is there, like the rating is there, Patrick will ride it, there'll be plenty of noise about it. I'd probably say that maybe if the favourites are starting to win, I could see a lot of maybe bets and accumulators going on to him in the last, like, looking down through it, looking for something. I can't see anything sticking out. I did hear David Mullins there talking about the other Willie Mullins horse, Tenzing, there in a podcast there recently, kind of saying given this week is 25-1. On the day, I'd probably be looking for something with a bit of value, maybe going into a place, depending on how many runners are in it. But yeah, no, I might join Marco for maybe a cup of coffee for the last race.
Okay. I doubt it'll be coffee you'll be joining for that hour. Mark, go on.
Well, TJ, I everything will be rolling up onto this fella. This is the getting out stakes on the first day. I can't see this horse being beaten, I'd have to say. I think all this fella has to do is jump around and stay out of trouble. Patrick will obviously ride him, and he knows him well. And I would say there will be a lot of doubles and triples and accumulators on this fella. And I know there's a couple of dark ones. Like Churchstone Warrior is a real battler. John McConnell's horse, Mahler Mission, has been very, very good as well. Ramilez as well. I just can't. I can't get away. I can't get away from the favourite here, to be honest with it. And for me, I wouldn't be going beyond him, to be honest with it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I do like one a bit further down in the market here, Manila Crooner for Gordon Elliott. I think the horse recently changed ownership, and let's not say well, look, he's slow, and I think that'll quite suit him here. He's crying out for a longer trip. All year he was been running over 2.5, 2.3. Stepped up to 2 miles 7 there at Fairyhouse early in February and finished second to Velvet Elvis. Now, I thought this horse has been lined out for an Irish national. I thought that might suit him. But so happens that doesn't seem to be the case, and he's going here because they said he's going to Cheltenham, all right, and he wouldn't be going anywhere else but here. And I just think that that extra 6 furlongs is really going to play to his strengths, and he's an each way price there. Whether he has enough class to win it or not is another question. He was classy enough over hurdles last year, like he was second there to Journey With Me at Leopardstown on his maiden hurdle debut, and then he was also second to Manila Cocooner at the end of the year. So he does have that bit of class, and at 12 to 1, 14 to 1, he's definitely one that I'd like each way. We'll rewind a small bit. We've 2 handicaps there on the first day with the Ultima and the Boodles. You may or may not have a strong opinion on either race, or you might have one that you like first. Killian, we'll start with you.
I think the Ultima is a horrendous race for Irish trainers. Yeah, I don't think, I could be wrong now. This could be way off the mark, but I remember last year looking into it. I think was it 2007 Tony Martin won the Ultima or something. I don't think anyone's won it since.
No, it's like one in the last 20. Yeah,
it's ages ago. So like when you're looking at this, you can nearly discount all the Irish horses straight away, because like a lot of them, the better ones go to the RSA. The worse horses go to the Kim Muir, and some then are kept at home for the Irish national and things. So like there wouldn't be that many Irish runners anyway. Like I see a lot of people putting up Corrick Rambler, last year's winner. He won it off 140 last year. Like he'd a troublesome passage into it, and he just kept on and kept staying going. I think his end goal is the national, and he's a 12 to 1 shot for that. So maybe this will just be a stepping stone. He ran there in November and he was 4th in the whatever they call it now, the Ladbrokes Trophy or whatever it is, the Coral Trophy there in Newbury, the Hennessy basically. And like he probably might just use this as a stepping stone for the national, but I see a good few people are putting him up for these off 146. But I sort of like Beauport there for Nigel Twiston Davis. He's about 14 to 1. He some decent form. Like his first run over fences was in one of those intermediate chases in Carlisle. He beat Miller's Bank, who won a grade 1 as a novice last year. Now it was a weak grade 1. Miller's Bank won over an entry, but he still won it. Like so he beat him, and Miller's Bank had it run. Now he got about £10 off him, in fairness. So it was a nice bit, but he won well that day. Then he was second in a novice's chase to Ballygriffin Cottage, who gave him £8 that day and got beaten 11 lengths. I know that Ballygriffin Cottage was fancied enough for races. There he bled, I think, last time in Wetherby when he was beaten, and he's not going to Cheltenham, but I think he's a horse that the Skeltons liked. And then his next run then was in the Dipper, and he was well beaten now, but he fairly whacked a few of them and lost all his momentum. And again, the conditions that race wouldn't have suited. Now he was beaten 20 lengths, but he gave £2 to the winner and £3 to the horses in second and third. So he was the top weight that day. But I just think he's off 143 there. I don't know. He might run well. I think he's some nice bits of form, and he's only a 7-year-old, so he's might be an improving horse, and might take a chance on him.
Okay, yeah. Do you have anything then for the Boodles?
Yeah, we were. I was up.
Are we sticking to the Ultima? Do any lads have anything for the Ultima first, and then we might skip on to the Boodles if you have an Ultima horse?
I just for me in the Ultima, I'll be keeping a close eye on Nasalem. it's obviously a race. You'll be only having €1 each way because like anything could win the race. But there's been a nice few quid from 14s into 8s. I have the half sister at home in 4 to a fantasy, and I would be really, really looking forward to him having a good round. He jumps really, really well, travels well. Gary Moore trains it and has won a couple of times already. Is a very, very good jumper, a good sound jumper. And I think going left-handed will actually suit him. He has a tendency to go out to his left, and I think Cheltenham actually will actually suit him. So,
okay.
All interest, but again, as you say, handicaps, anything could win it.
Yeah. And TJ?
There's one Irish horse there. I'm not sure if he's going to go here. Jessica Harrington's horse, Lifetime Ambition, right? I don't know what the exact target or whether it's. I think it's got another entry at least, right? But if it was to turn up here, right, I think up in trip, there's some nice snippets of form behind Fakir Duderie and Gallop in the Sham, graded form, right? And in some of his runs, it was second to the big dog in the Tri-Town as well, right? And the big dog is trying to form well since. So it's only 20 to 1 shot, but you'd have to check to see like later in the time as to whether I do take your trends and stats on the Irish horses. But it's just one that there's some nice little pieces of graded form in there, like not beating a whole pile by some of the top horses. So just one to kind of just maybe keep an eye on, but
okay,
nothing overly strong.
Yeah, now then just on to myself, I suppose. I've nothing for the Boodles, but I've 2 that I quite like here. The first is Happy Go Lucky. He's about 16 to 1.
I fancied him for the last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago would have been, I'd say.
2 years ago, was it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was well backed. He went off 130, was beaten by Vintage Clouds.
Sure.
He later went on and won at Aintree. And then he wasn't seen for almost 600 days. He came back there then in November this year. Had a very good run at Newcastle behind Long Press in the rehearsal handicap chase there, the Premier Handicap. And then he took a step down in trip New Year's Day at Cheltenham over 2 mile, 4 furlongs that was never going to suit him and finished 10th. But I just see that as nearly, keeping him under wraps a small bit. And I think he could be very much primed for a big run here. They went so close with him 2 years ago. I can imagine that this is very much the target for him. So that's probably my main fancy in the race. The other one that I do like was third in it last year, Oscar Elite. He won at Ascot there a couple of weeks ago in the Reynoldstown Novices Chase. It's a grade 2 there. Won quite well. He was the outsider of only 3 horses. But look, not to go on rambling about him, he was third in it last year. He's only rated £1 higher this year, and he does have a liking for the track. He placed there in Albert Bartlett when he was a novice hurdler, and obviously third at the festival last year. And horses for courses. So those 2 now would be 2 that would be on my radar. And then we'll go on to the final race that we're going to talk about on the Tuesday, which is the Boodles Handicap Hurdle, a race that I never really have any interest in, to be honest. But Killian, we'll start with you again here.
Yeah, I was up in Tony Martin's there not so long ago, and he gave us one. Zanabad, he's called. He's a 16 to 1 chance.
Would Tony give you a winner now?
Yeah, he probably would. But he's a 16 to 1 shot. He's the bottom weight in the entries. He's number 33, 119. Now, I don't know, will 119 get him in? It might not. But no bet there, down the very bottom. Like, if you look at some of his form, he's beaten 6 lengths by TKO on Hurdle's debut under a fairly hands and heels ride in Leopardstown over Christmas. Came 7th that day. And then went to Naas for a 4-year-old hurdle in the end of January. So that day he made a very bad mistake. It was a 3 out or 4 out. He's lost an awful lot of momentum, and then sort of came back on the bridle and looked like he was going to win the race. Turning around the bend and coming to the second last, and sort of just emptied then. So obviously that mistake took an awful lot out of him. He was 9 lengths beaten by a horse called Biker, who's of Charles Burns, who's the second favourite at 5 to 1. Like, without that mistake, he'd have been an awful lot closer to Biker. There's a £9 swing in the weights then as well. like if he does get in, and it could be a big if, I think he could run well off the bottom mark there.
Okay, yeah, very good. That's a good case for him, all right. And if he gets in off 119, he'll be on a pure featherweight there, like, you know. So if he's got any bit of class about him at all,
he'd be great in the flat as well, isn't he?
Sorry,
he'd a big rating in the flat. I think he's close to 100. I think there in the flat, like, which is a fair case now. Yeah. The only thing I'd say negative is there was a lot of money for him the last day, and I suppose he's run like maybe he didn't finish it out. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure. It was a heavy ground there in Goran, and the last day, I don't know that come against him, but like he had one on heavy in France over I think it was 1.25 miles. But yeah, I'm not sure what about the last run, but like I think he's an intended runner if he gets in anyway. So hopefully he does, and like I had a few quid each way on him at 25s there a few weeks ago. So hopefully he gets in. Like he'd have a chance there, and like Brian Cooper on board then as well, hopefully. So like he'd have a very good jockey there too. Yeah,
TJ, do you have anything for that?
I kind of like Charles's horse. I definitely think that he was minded the last day biker. He'd be a nice price. Like Philip Benred rode him the last day. I think his form reads reasonably well. And the other one was JP's horse at Common Practice. Like I had a quid in it the last day. It was unseated in Leopardstown. There was plenty good word for it. The rest, the Gaelic Warrior won. Yeah. So yeah, but like you said there, Sir James, this is a race. Just you could stop at 2 out and you could pick like a host of horses. Like usually, like strangely enough, like even Gaelic Warrior couldn't win it off 129 last year. Like that's kind of race talking about here. Right?
Yeah. Very fair point on it. Yeah, 100%, Mark.
Yeah, I'm a Cow fan. I must say, I think he travelled fierce well in the race, in the Dublin Racing Festival. I think was it behind Statement or who? But I tell you, he was very impressive. And I was told well in advance to have a few quid on him, to be honest, but at about 8 or 10 to 1. I see he's only 4 to 1 now, so the value is gone. Again, I'd be inclined to keep my hands in my pockets for this race because, like TJ said there, they could be 10 of them come down to the second last there, and any one of them could win the race. Like it just really is who is the best in, I suppose, in terms of the weights and stuff like that. So I wouldn't have a strong fancy, but if it was Becky anything, I'd probably have you quid into Cow.
Okay, very good. And then just to wrap up the Tuesday, I'm going to ask you for your best bet on the Tuesday. I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to go with Happy Go Lucky in the Ultima. I just think he's a very big price each way. There'll be 5, possibly 6 places on the day, and I'd say he's been laid out for this.
I'm going to go with John Bond as my bet for Tuesday, and I'm going to go just to stick him in a double with Honeysuckle. I just think that's my double for Tuesday.
I was going to do the exact same thing.
Just great I get in first, so yeah. So for me, I would say for maybe a little bit of value is on two well fancied ones, a double, which is John Bond and Honeysuckle.
TJ, that bodes very badly for you.
Yeah, terribly.
Is on the same page as you.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same as TJ, and I give a mention to Zanabad then in the Boodles if he gets in.
Okay, and Mark?
I'm going to go for a first race and last race double. I'm on Facile Vega and Gabble Jamil for the double. And I'm going to have a Yankee as well on those two with Il Fabiolo and Honeysuckle.
Very good. You're going for the home run.
I am.
You'll be buying the drinks the Tuesday night, Mark, if that Yankee lands.
I will be green, white and gold on Tuesday. I'm going to collect all the dough on Tuesday, and then I'm going to go into hibernation for the next 3 days.
Good man. You'd know you haven't been there for a few years. You're itching to go.
It's about 20 years since I've been to Cheltenham. I booked in for the 4 days. I did Galway this year. We were lucky enough with a winner on the Monday night. And I can tell you by Thursday, I was like most of the horses in the 4-miler. I was legless on Thursday night. I was knackered. So whether I'll make it to Friday or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm going with good intentions anyway.
Good man. Fair play to you. Right, okay, lads. We'll move on to day 2. We've got the Ballymore to start off with. Hermes Allen at the top of the market is still a very backable price, and he's done nothing wrong all year. Just keeps on winning, really. But it's quite a nice competitive race. Gaelic Warrior looks like he's more than likely going here as well. Good land as well. Could Barry Connell do the double there? with the Supreme, with Marine Nationale. No, it's a decent race, Killian. We'll start with you. You're a big Marine Nationale fan. Are you a Goodland fan?
I tell you, Barry, he'd sell you anything. Like I said earlier, like he came out there after he won, and like he was very impressive at the Dublin Racing Festival, and he came out and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to win the Ballymore." Like, and geez, you have to admire his confidence. Yeah, he's a very good horse. I think like he's going. It's a furlong back and trip. It's the same trip basically. The DRF race and the Ballymore. Yeah, I think he's a good each way price there at 5s. He's very straightforward horse. He's good temperament. Like there shouldn't be any issues with him. He'll get a lead off Champ Kiley as well. So it's pretty ideal for him. Like it's a decent race though. Like Hermes Elen, Impera Pass, Gaelic Warrior, Champ Kiley. But yeah, I think he's a decent each way price. And then another one I like then is In the Pocket. I was very taken by him when he won in Wexford, and like he backed it up then in Naas in the novice race against 3-card Bragg and Absolute Notions. Like he battled on well that day and probably ground he wouldn't have liked. So he's a fair price there around 12-1. I think he's going to this race as well. So like he ran well behind Ilete Thompson the last time. He's well beaten, but it was like on a bit quicker ground there, and Leopardstown over 2 miles wouldn't have suited him either. So I think there's a lot to like about him, and he's a good each way price. Like you might get, it looks like there might be a few more runners in the Ballymore this year than in previous years. You might get 10, 12, 13 maybe, if you're lucky. So I think at that maybe like the likes of a Sky Bet might go 4 places in the Ballymore, and you could have a nice cut of them there each way. But like I'd struggle to see him. Like I think he'd be in the first 3. I think he's very good. Okay, TJ.
Yeah, I'm getting worried here because my thinking is very aligned with Killian. So you kind of just said what you wanted me there. So yeah, I suppose I was curious as to why In the Pocket went back to 2 miles the last day, but you would like to think that this trip was tailor-made for him. Henry has talked him up well. There was a lot of noise about him when he's made in hurdle in Wexford. He was very impressive. So I definitely would be in the Pocket. Like, nice price each way. As such a hard to know exactly what's going to run here. Gaelic Warrior is just kind of that question mark. When he didn't win last year, jumps out to the right. Just don't know about him. Not sure about Goodland. Champ Kiley is another one. I think that maybe the 2 mile 5 would suit as well. Like, so if I was to pick 2 against the field, I'd probably be them. But just coming down In the Pocket at the moment to be my pick.
Okay, good man, Mark.
Yeah, I couldn't have In the Pocket now at all, to be honest with it. I just don't like the way Henry's horses are running. I think they're out of form. For me, there's a horse way out in the betting, Dark Raven. He's bred by a man, John Mulcahy, down here in Killa. I'd be having a few quid each way on him. I was very impressed with Goodlands in the Dublin DRF. And Barry O'Connor, I thought he was very, very straightforward. Now I thought he jumped perfectly, travelled fierce well. I think you need a horse that'll travel well and stay out of trouble, particularly in this race. But there's no question or doubt about it that the English, I feel outside of Constitution Hill, this is their second banker, Hermes Allen. I've backed it a couple of times and I've collected on it. I'll probably end up having a few quid on this for the straight, I would suspect. And I'll have a few quid on Dark Raven each way at about 25-1, 33-1 maybe on the day if it runs.
Yeah, okay. I'd be sort of siding with Boaty there in a way. Hermes Allen, I think, is a very fair price for what he's done. And he's one that I do like for it. And In the Pocket too, like when you look at that form that he had in Naas there in a grade 2, 3-card Bragg was second, beat him by a neck, and he's come out and franked that form since. He's one that I like for the Albert Bartlett, and Absolute Notions ran very well then. Behind Goodland, only beaten about a length by Goodland. In the Pocket has beaten them by 4 lengths there, and that step back down in trip, I agree, wouldn't have suited whatsoever. But I for win purposes anyway, I'd be going Hermes Allen. To be honest, the second race then on the Wednesday is the Brown Advisory, and it's a race I don't like. A lot of the horses there, the real whacker 9-2. He hasn't done enough for me. I don't think he's got enough class for a race like this. Sir Gerhard only coming after one run where he jumped very averagely, now taking a huge step up in trip. Couldn't have him either. Jerry Colombe, obviously the top of the market, has done nothing wrong. So it's probably hard to get away from him. Time Hill in and out, the blinkers, the last, they sort of improved him big time. But it's just a race that, for me anyway, is a bit underwhelming. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on it, TJ.
Something similar to yourself now, James. I wouldn't disagree with anything you've said there. Like Time Hill, the questions were there, but then he jumped beautifully the last day and won well. Like probably undoubtedly, maybe like the form is there. He's 9 now. Like I don't want to be Gordon is talking about Jerry Colombe. There's nothing done wrong. Like ticks all the boxes. I'd be slow to come away from him. And I suppose what's always a sign of something that maybe is strong enough in terms of like he's 2-1 favourite. I'm struggling to find something that'll maybe beat him too. Like I do agree with you, the real whacker. Sir Gerhard, I'm in the don't know bracket there, so I'd probably be coming down the side of the favourite at this moment in time. I like Jerry Colombe, yeah.
Okay, good man, Mark.
Yeah, I'm a big Sir Gerhard fan, I must say. Like he ploughed through one of the fences in Gordon Park. How he stayed standing, I'll never know. But they'll travel at a way slower pace in this race. He has won in Cheltenham before. He has good form around there. Jerry Colombe is a talking horse. They say that he's very much ground dependent, and then he went to Ascot and he won extremely well on ground that they said didn't suit. So, I think it'll come down to the two of those horses for me. I wouldn't have a strong fancy on either of them, to be honest with it, but I think Gerard will give him enough. It would be my own view.
Okay, Killian.
I think Jerry Colombe will win. Is the juice gone out of the price though? At 7-4 is the only thing. Like, I don't know. Could you I wouldn't like to say he's an absolute banker either. Like, and when you're backing a horse at 7-4, you should probably be thinking that way. It's like with John Bond's a similar price. I think John Bond's going to win. Like, yeah. I think he could be a banker. Like, I don't know, Jerry Colombe. The only thing is that you said the race is very weak. It's like Sir Gerhard. There's a lot of question marks, but he's very, very high class. Like, he's won a bumper. He's won a number of grade ones as a novice hurdler. He's a very, very good horse. And he'd some brilliant horses in behind him last year. The real whacker, you couldn't touch him. Really, like Time Hill, as you said, TJ, the jumping was much improved in Kempton, but like question mark, a 9-year-old here, I don't know, I couldn't really fancy him either. And looking down at then, like, I don't even know what's going to run out of those, to be honest. And I don't think any of them will get involved. So it comes down to really Jerry Colombe, Sir Gerhard and Time Hill for me. And I don't know, there's less question marks with Jerry Colombe. He's going to be a better horse up and trip. Mm-hmm. I know they're saying he's very ground dependent. He won on good to soft, and it was on the good side in Sandown. If he's come out of that all right, and by all accounts he has, I think he's just going to go and win it.
Okay, yeah. It's Sir Gerhard. Yeah, I get your point on him in terms of the hurdling, and he's won the bumper as well, and that. But I don't know, over fences, like, he's only had one start, and it's left a lot to be desired. And I know you can excuse a few mistakes on Chase debut, but I don't know, going there just after one run, and I don't know what, he didn't look a natural chaser any. Let's just put it that way to me. Actually, out of Willie's, the one that would probably interest me more than Sir Gerhard would be James de Burley. And now he was absolutely whacked at the Dublin Racing Festival. He finished 6-6, but I don't think that's his true running. And I think he has a bit of class about him. Like, his beginner's chase was very impressive, beating Capilano Bridge by 15 lengths. He's very classy form over 3 miles, we'll say, to very little form actually in Ireland. But he was beaten 9 lengths by Classical Dream in a Grade 1 at Punchestown back in 2021. He's had his injury issues. Willie has come out saying that he's going to go to this race. I think he has. And he says that he's going to need to improve and come back to his Fairy House form. But he says that he thinks that he could come back to that form. So I'd be giving him an outside chance there as well.
Did he just bounce the last stage, you reckon? Like he was off the track a year and 3 quarters. Yeah. And a good run, and then backed it up with shit.
Yeah, that That very well could be the case. And actually that hadn't registered in my head. That very well could be the case. I liked him before that race. But yeah, that it could very easily be the bounce factor, all right. So look, I do like him. We'll move on to the Queen Mother Champion Chase, a race that has been blown wide open. I think in the last couple of months. It's, you have the 3 E's there at the top of the market: Edward Stone, Energamine, Editor de Geet. But Gentleman Demi's form last time out is probably as good as any recent form in the race. Mark, we'll start with you here.
Oh, I won't be going into any major depth in this one. This is my banker bet of Cheltenham. I will be going all in on Energamine. I just think he's the class horse in this race. I think you will see different tactics employed when we see him run this time. I'm delighted that he got the bad run out of the way the last time. Willie has brought him to Cheltenham. Obviously, he's going to put some kind of dye in his eyes to make sure that the white landing board won't get in his way the next time he runs there, which is very strange. But he thinks himself that it has something to do with the way he was jumping. But for me, I think this. Look, I know. I don't know, how do you pronounce the Editor de Geet,
yeah.
Right? Like, great run the last day against Edward Stone. I mean, the English love Edward Stone themselves. I just think if Energamine goes about its business properly this time, I can't see anybody going close to him. I know, listen to Paul Townsend after the last day, he'd be way more confident that the horse will run better the next day and will probably employ different tactics as well. Willie the same way. They're really sweet in this horse, I've no doubt about it. Like, he did everything wrong in Cheltenham the last day. And it was probably only maybe with 2 out, like he made a desperate hash of the last. It was legless and managed to stay standing as well. I just think, I just have a feeling this will be up in the van from the word go, and I think he'll jump him into submission, would be my view.
Okay. Just on that, one negative that I had against him, and I'll say it now since you're so firm, is, well, obviously the last day, he's been beaten there by 2 horses who are in this race as well. But even going back to last year, like, his form isn't that good there at Punchestown. He bet Shakin Poursois and Envoy Allen and Captain Guinness were the other 3 home against him, which aren't setting the world alight, put it that way. No. And then last year in the Champion Chase, he's beat for, now you can only beat who's up against you, and I fully accept that. But Fernambles Sivola was second, Envo Allen was third. That's not that form from last year is looking very watery. Would be my take on that. Killian, I don't know what you have for this race.
That's something big planned here. I was looking through it, like, and I agree with Mark. I think if they all put their best foot forward, I think Energamine is the best horse. But I was looking through it, like, and like there's 11 left in it. Course Sublime, Shakin Poursois, and Blue Lord aren't going to run, so that leaves 8. So I was sort of looking then, would anything else not run, and maybe Grenadine or Fername de Sivola might come out, then that leave 6 or 7. You're down to 2 places then. I was just looking through a few of them, like, I think Captain Guinness is wildly overpriced at 66 to 1 there. Wildly overpriced. He's, hold on a second now. So, like, you look at the race and how it's going to be run, and like, there's going to be a pretty strong pace on it with Energamine and Editor de Geet. And there is the possibility that if Energamine takes him on, they could just cut each other's throats up there. And something like a Captain Guinness, like the Champion Chase has thrown up some weird results in years gone by, more so than any of the other championship races. So I just wouldn't be shocked. Like, I think he's a lot of positives for him. Like, he's been freshened up there, he hasn't ran since Christmas. I think if it's good ground, he'll bounce off that ground. Whereas Energamine might not, Editor de Geet might not. Like, I think the good ground is going to be a key to him. Like, when now I know he has form on that soft kind of ground, but go back to running Naas at the start of last season, before he went to Sandown on good ground. he did a pretty good performance beating Andy Dufresne. Same in the Tingle Creek.
Andy Dufresne, yeah.
Good ground the Tingle Creek. He's only beaten 5 lengths. He's finished miles ahead of Nuba Negra, who I know you like for each way purposes at about a quarter of the price. I don't know, like I don't see him winning it. Like if there is a pace collapse, it's going to suit an Edward Stone. But like I just think at 66 to 1, if there is only going to be 6 or 7 runners on the day, I think he's way overpriced. And like he has some pretty good form in the book. Like he had a Racing Post rating of 164 there last February in Naas, winning there, and like stepping him up to 2.5 miles in Aintree obviously didn't work. And like I'd forgiven the run then behind an Argamine towards the end of last season, but like he'd formed tying in with an Argamine pretty closely as a novice chaser. In Leopardstown in the Irish Arkle, going back a couple of years now, at 2 out he was about half a length down, and he was travelling really well. And Argamine beat Franco de Port by 10 lengths that day. Captain Guinness was a shoe-in for second, and you don't know, he was running a huge race when he came down.
All right,
and like he is a very good horse, and
I'm going to apologize on Killian's behalf to all viewers who have spent the last maybe 60 seconds, 90 seconds listening to Killian talking about Captain Guinness. Now, just for a bit of background information, Killian had Captain Guinness backed on his maiden hurdle debut at 33 to 1. His starting price is 33 to 1 as well, and he won. I can't remember where it was, but it was Navan. In December, and Navan in December, was it? Yeah. And he hasn't let the horse down since.
I have.
No.
He shouldn't be 66 to 1.
Forget everything Killian said there. And if TJ isn't on the same page as Killian here now today, I think it could be myself and Mark doing the rest of the preview.
No, I'm not on the same page here. I'm actually on the page. I'd be happy to lay the two boys. I'm happy to lay Mark on Inagumeen and happy to lay Killian. My view is,
I'm taking Killian's money.
Okay. my view is, I think Edward Stone will definitely beat Inagumeen and Editor the Geese. I think he'll definitely beat the two of them. I'm not 100% sure he'll beat Gentleman to Me, and then I'm not 100% sure about Gentleman to Me's spring form is very good. Yeah. Like in Aintree last year, Gentleman to Me beat Edward Stone fair and square. I don't know. I would think this is the winner of this is considered the best 2 mile chaser in Ireland and the UK in the current time. I think it's probably Edward Stone. I think it is. That's where I'm at the moment.
Okay. My own viewpoint on it is Gentleman to Me. I do like him. I'd be pretty much against the top 3 in the betting. I'd agree with you. If I was going with one of the first 3, it would be Edward Stone. And I've probably underestimated him, probably throughout his whole career. But Gentleman to Me, I do like. One that at an each way price, Killian's smiling here now and shaking his head, giving me the same treatment back. But Nuba Negra at 33 to 1. He's very good form, fresh. He needs to be fresh. That's well known. He likes good ground in all likelihood. Well, when I was planning for this, we didn't know the rain was coming. That's only a recent news. But look, if the ground is good, he's been freshened up for it. If you go back and look at it there in 2021, 2 years ago, he was beaten half a length by Put the Kettle On, beat Shackenpour Swat, Granatine that day. He likes the track. He liked the ground. He's fresh. He's a lot going for him. 33 to 1. I definitely am quite keen on him at that price. But look, we'll move on there to a race that Gordon Elliott has sort of putting his stamp on in recent years. The Glenfarclas Cross Country Chase. Delta Work, last year's winner, is top of the market at 10 to 11. Galvin is coming in there, second favourite at 5 to 2. Willie Mullins has Franco de Port at 7 to 1. Killian, we'll start with you here. Do you have anything more sensible to say, or should the viewers sort of fast forward again?
I think Galvin will win. He's coming in with the same profile as Delta Work was last year, running in grade 1s sort of that season, the season before, and like this season hasn't gone to plan too much for him, but like he had some very good performances in last year. He won the Savills, he beat a Plutarch, he's 4th in the Gold Cup, he's a lot of back class. I think this courses seem to go really well at the cross country, their first run of it, so like I'd happy to side with him. I hope Foxy Jacks wins it though, for the Mouse. Like as you said, we've said it before. He could run there and he could take out half the field, and something at 100-1 could win the race. But like Foxy Jacks there, like he went well there in the cross country at, where was it? Was it
November?
Punchestown?
Yeah,
Punchestown. Yeah, he ran well that day. He was third behind Delta Work, and then he fell then in the cross country handicap there in January. But he was going well. Like he was jumping around nicely when he did fall. So like Shane Finland there is going to go over to ride him. Whatever he's done for his sins to have to get up on that lad, but best to look. Like I think he could go all right. Like but yeah, I think Galvin will win it.
Okay, very good, Mark.
Yeah, I think it'll come down to the top two in a bit. And to be honest, most of these races, once you can travel and jump, it'll like last year with a Delta Work and Tiger Roll, and I suppose Delta Work spoiled the party, and I think he needs to come back again this year and probably put it back to back. I look, for me, I don't think there's any better than this, to be honest with it. I'd be a big Delta Work fan.
Okay, very good, TJ.
I think Garnet will win it. That's like Galvin's rate is higher, like jumps and travels, definitely, like form wise, considering like say what he's done in Cheltenham before. But he's like, are you saying, Killian, you think it's a positive that he hasn't run around these?
Yeah, I think Gordon said before that like the horses seem to like really run well in it in their first run. Like, and I sort of agree with the two. Like, you know, Balco the Flow there for Henry de Bramhead was running really well in it a couple of years ago, and he fell. But he was running a serious race, and then he went to the national and he came second. Like, so I think horses do take to it quite well. Like, their first sort of run it.
Yeah, I suppose he'll need to, Galvin, like in terms of his runs this year, he's been beaten quite a bit, like, so he just needs to kind of come back to himself. You know, you need a bit of inside information here. Delta Work, is he as ground dependent as they say? Like, I know last year kind of the soft ground kind of came, like, didn't it?
Yeah, the soft ground would have suited him more so than Tiger Roll, but I think yeah, he probably, like, I'd say he's if you look back at his form, he's probably done it on better ground as well.
Yeah. I suppose, look, I'd probably end up going to try and trust that Delta Work has been there, done that. It's impressive enough. Yeah. Like if you took Tiger Roll out of the race last year, it would have won by a mile. So I'd probably stick with Delta Work.
Yeah. And would this be Delta Work's possibly fourth time winning in Cheltenham? He's definitely have to win.
He won the Pertemps and he won the cross country. He was beaten in the RSA and beaten in the Gold Cup. Top of the game, beat him.
Top of the game, right? Okay.
Yeah.
God, yeah, top of the game. I remember him.
Yeah, he was unfortunate now, wasn't it?
He was, yeah. Myself on this race, I'd be Galvin. I was at Navan there on Saturday actually, and Irish Racing put a camera in my face, and
you asked for it, I heard. You went looking around. You had a sign up available for any of your recording needs.
I did not. You're telling lies now again. You're well able to.
Yeah.
But I gave Galvin. I think the vibes are good around him. Gordon Elliott was sort of saying that, you know, he wants winners at Cheltenham, and Galvin was going to be going to the Gold Cup, sort of, that was the plan, but he wants winners, so he's sending him to the cross country. That sort of says to me in a way that you know, maybe doesn't have full confidence in Delta Work. Delta Work has probably been a bit underwhelming this year too. So I think at the prices, I'd just side with Galvin. But to be honest, any race that Foxy Jacks is running in should be a no bet race, really, if we're going to be sensible with our money. Yeah, and I'd side with Killian there too. I'd love to see Foxy Jacks win it, but I do think Galvin is the most likely winner of the race. The final race then, A Dream to Share is the favourite in the Champion Bumper, and we might leave John Kiley is a Limerick man, isn't he? Watford, okay, Watford.
You're thinking of a different John Kiley.
I know the other John Kiley, all right. I thought this John Kiley, I thought you were both Limerick men.
Well, you are right, John Kiley is a Limerick man.
The John Kiley that matters is a Watford man, anyway.
Well, I don't think TJ'd agree with you there now.
But I was going to give TJ first word on this race, because John Kiley, I was getting them mixed up there. But TJ, go ahead anyway. It's for me his favourite for Willie Mullins. Fun is there too. 9-1. A Dream to Share, owned by JP. There's your Limerick connection.
Yeah.
Is A Dream to Share going to do it for JP?
I think so. I do. I think his win the last day in Leopardstown was really good. Like, if you look at the horses that were in behind, like, he's beaten winners. He's the highest rated of the bumper horses, which is normally very good. Obviously, JP and his crew think so as well, because they paid big bucks for him after that. And like the other horses you're looking at potential, like, it's, for me, did look very good the last day, but like, what did it beat? So like, you could be, they could be very good horses in time. We don't know, but I just think right now, on the bare form of what we're looking at, I like A Dream to Share. I think the way he picked up the last day, you could argue it was a slow run race and it suited him, but Chicas, he picked up really well. And even his 2 other runs, the way he's finished all his races, there's a lot to like about him. I know the young fella's going riding him now, John Gleeson, who's had a good year as well, in fairness to him. Like, so it'll be some dream for him. But for me, A Dream to Share win the bumper.
Okay, very good, Mark.
Yeah, I tell you now, this is a hard race, and it's a cavalry charge as well. And you know, I know young John very well personally. He's rode for me a couple of times. You know, this is a rough race as well, and you know, experienced jockeys around here mean an awful lot. It's a very, very big race for young John Gleeson. I think the horse is a really, really good horse. If it got a safe passage and doesn't get into trouble, I think it has a right chance of winning. Even after winning after the DRF, it was 6 or 7-1, and I always see it's nearly 7-2, 4-1. So the money has still come from the horse. And you know, I think when I'm looking down through the race, I don't know, is there a massive amount of depth in the race, to be honest? I like that Better Days Ahead ran very well the last day. I couldn't have fun, to be honest with it. It's, for me, was impressive the first day it ran, so the day one. I think Patrick rode it that day. It looked impressive, but then, you know, this is a big step up, I think, for that horse. I love the bumper. I really, really do love the bumper, because you're looking at the young horses for next year for the novice hurdles and stuff like that. So I don't think I'll be getting involved in this, but I would love to see A Dream to Share win for former owners, the Gleesons. I know Kieran Bryan very well, and obviously young John as well, the jockey, and John Kiley. You know, I know the Gleesons have been hugely positive about what John has done and the advice that John Kiley has given the horse, and even the fact it went off at 2-9 in Roscommon. John Kiley had said in advance that this is possibly the day that the horse could get beaten, because they were going to run different tactics. They're going to run from behind and stuff like that. So, and the horse nearly got bait, but I think he's the best horse in the race. But I think, you know, the hustle and bustle, if John Gleeson can keep him out of trouble, and he's a very good jockey, he's a great little jockey coming. I think he'll take a lot of beating.
Okay, very good, Killian.
Sure, like it's a race there. You mightn't have the price of a bet if you go bad on the Wednesday. Like, if Captain Guinness wins the champion chase, I could have the lot on the Fav, like, you know.
Don't get into it now again.
I hear Oisin Murphy is going to ride in it, actually. The flat jockey.
Yeah.
He's hoping to ride one for Willie. I'm not sure what he's going to ride, like, because Patrick's going to be on. It's for me. I think Fun's going to wait for Aintree more than likely. They probably won't run 2 of them, the same owners. So then you're looking at, like, Chapo Asai, Western Diego, Fact to File, another one for Willie. Like, I know Paul often rides one in this as well, like, so it's hard to know which one Murphy will get the leg up over on, but it'd be interesting to see how he goes anyway. But there's a lot of people on about Incanto Bruno there for John McConnell. I see him there a good bit on Twitter, like, so maybe it might give him a few euro each way. But yeah, it wouldn't be a big betting race now for me, the bumper. No. But I'd like to see A Dream to Share win it.
Yeah, and I'll echo those sentiments and thoughts on A Dream to Share. Highest rated horse in the race. He should be favourite, really. He's got the best form in the book. That horse, that last race at Dublin Racing Festival, actually, like, Fact to File was very highly thought of, and the Emmett Mullins' horse. There's a lot of talk about him before the race. The name is Farinelli, was it? Or no?
He ran yesterday in Kelso or Saturday.
How did he get on?
He's beaten in a grade 2 hurdles debut. He's well bet now, but like it was his first run over hurdles.
Well, they thought enough of him to throw him straight into a grade 2.
Yeah.
So look, I think a Dream to Share is the most likely winner. Hustle and bustle in the race, plenty of it. Not a race really to get involved in too much. We'll just look briefly then at the handicaps. We've got the Coral Cup there and the Grand Annual. So we'll start with the Coral Cup. I'll just leave it open to you. If any of you have something there for the Coral Cup, shout.
Yeah. I don't know. Listen, there's a good few Irish horses in there. They run for Oscar, HMS Sears, Hoot the Colorist, Winter Fall. So every one of them, which one of them is better well handicapped, I suppose, is the big one, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wicked race. It's a wicked race. There's just so many runners in it, and I remember 2 years ago there, I really liked Thomas Darby for it, and he finished well down the field, but he came home on the bridle too because he just couldn't get a run. There's no gap open up for him or whatever. It's not an easy race.
But there'll probably be a steamer on the day of the races. There'll be one of them will be back from 7 or 8 to 1 into maybe 9 to 2 that way. So it's a race to watch out for where the money comes from.
Yeah. I was saying I don't think I've backed the winner of the Coral Cup since Super Sunday won it there. It was about 6 or 7 years ago. So I wouldn't have much in it. But there's one there called Rian for Gordon Elliott. He won last time out there in Thurles. He beat Spanish Harlem, who's favourite for the Martin Pipe by half a length. He got £4 off him that day. So he won that off his Irish rating was 125. His Irish rating's gone up to 30. He's got another 5 on top of it. But he's only had 7 runs over hurdles all since July of last year. He hasn't really had a break, so he's going there without having any big long stint off. But he's battle hardened, and that's probably what you want in a race like this. And he's a novice as well, so that's another plus beside his name. I suppose he did one big field handicap in Punchestown on New Year's Eve, and he was well beaten down the field that day. He was hammered really. That was 2 miles and 3 furlongs. But I just think there might be a small bit more to come from him.
Okay.
Thought he might be one that might be Upton trip, but he was left of this trip. So he's one that I sort of half like. He's about, what price is he there? He's 20 to 1 there, or 20 to 1 with I don't know who's it with, Paddy Powers.
Okay.
But yeah, I might chance it £2 each way.
James, I'm not sure where you are in Run for Oscar. I think Charles has been nice to him for the last couple of runs. Which is he made a mockery of the Cesarewitch field back, and he just came there thinking like a horse that just jumped in 2 furlongs down, lovely rating. I think he wouldn't be out of place in the stairs or the Run for Oscar. I think if Charles has this in mind since back then, which I think he will be well capable of, might be one. I think he's around 7 or 8 to 1 at the moment, so not huge value. But I just think that he just looks like something that's kind of laid out for it, and the race will run to suit. Like I said, just the way he won the Cesarewitch, if you look back in the replay of it, it was incredibly impressive.
Yeah, very, very fair. Very fair. And then the other handicap on the day is the Grand Annual. Again, does anybody have any horse in that's after catching their eye?
There's one I like here in the Grand Annual, but I'm not sure if he's going to run. It's William Mullins' horse, Saint Ra, for JP. He's in the Arkle as well, and he has been running in the graded races. I just think that this would be ideal for him off his rating. But again, you need maybe to clarify. Maybe Willie obviously likes the championship races, so he could be going Arkle Road.
Okay, Killian.
Yeah. We're looking at one down a bit there in the Grand Annual. Rouge Vif for Harry Whittington. He was previously a sort of a 160 rated horse. He ran a champion chase, the one that put the kettle on won. He'd been third to her in the Arkle as well. He's some pretty good pieces of form, sort of around 2 miles going back a couple of years. Went to Paul Nichols then, so I lost his way a bit then. He's back with Harry Whittington since November last year, put in two poorish runs, but came back to a small bit of form there in Doncaster. and he's been eased £3 since. He went to make the running, and he just sort of tied up there towards the end. But he's, I don't know what price he is, 14 or 16 to 1 there. Now he's a 9-year-old, like, it's probably not ideal, but I just think he had a bit of back class, and like 137, he should get in with that. So I think he might have a small squeak each way.
Okay, very good. Do you have anything there, Mark?
No opinion on it, except if you want to give away a few quid, come to me on the Wednesday. You can give me the money, because anything could win this race. I would have no fancy whatsoever. Keep your hands in your pocket and wait for Thursday would be suggested.
Okay. Well, that is solid advice. The one that I would like in it, if I had a gun to my head and I had to pick one, would be Final Orders. He's just been getting his head in front there recently. He's won his last 5 starts. He won actually there at Dublin Racing Festival, won quite well over 2 miles, the 2 mile handicap chase there. Was rated 140 that day, got £8 for a 4-length win, fair enough. And the English handicapper has only given him £1. He's there about 12 to 1, and I think he's a fair price. Gavin has indicated
to the Arkle,
No, I thought Gavin has indicated that's where he's going.
I don't know. I can't remember. I thought he was going to the Arkle.
No, I don't think he is.
Fair enough.
Okay, well, double check that. No, I'm pretty sure he said since he only got £1 that they were going to send him that way. But right, so that's the end of Wednesday. I'll just get your best bet for Wednesday. So, off Ollie, TJ, we'll start there with you.
I'm going to wait till the last race. I'm going to go for a Dream to Share. Whatever price, about 5 or 6 to 1. He's got the best form. It's the highest rated. Like I said before, Willie Mullins is a lot of horses that there's much of a muchness. I just think this horse has the form in the bag. I think if a Dream to Share was trained by Willie, I think it'd be significantly shorter.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair point. Mark?
Yeah, I am going to go for a Willie Mullins horse. I'm really, really sweet on Enagameen. I think that horse is on a recovery mission, a bit like Facile Vega. And having spoken to Patrick recently on the Caman Racing Club AGM, I think the big thing he did say is that every horse is entitled to one bad day at the office. I think Enagameen had a bad day at the office the last day, and I think he'll put his best foot forward. Okay,
I'm going to take you on head on there. And I'm going to say Nube Negra 33 to 1.
Stop.
Folks. Oh, well, I definitely
And here comes Killian with Captain Guinness, so you can fast forward there 2 minutes if you want.
No, I won't. I go within the pocket in the Ballymore.
Okay, good one. I like it. Okay, well, look, that brings our preview to an end. First of all, I'd just like to flag it with you that our second preview on the Thursday and the Friday, is going to be live this Thursday, so in three or 4 days' time. So make sure to check that. We're going to have 3 guests on: Ash Simmons, Paddy Aspel, who's a regular contributor to the podcast, and Emma Nagel from Irish Racing is joining us as well. So before I wrap it up, lads, I'd just like to thank both of you very much for coming on. We very much appreciate it. I'm sure everybody enjoyed listening to you there. We had a good laugh throughout it as well. And again, Caman Racing Club, CAMAN is how that's spelt. And if anybody would like to get involved, if you just give it a quick Google search there, you'll find it. I just heard from Mark there towards the end of the podcast that they had their AGM with Patrick Mullins there as well. So I can imagine that there's a few different events too, and a few little bits and pieces organised throughout the year as well, along for your €200, and you'll be involved in a few horses there. So be sure to check that out. And unless Killian, you've anything to add to that, we'll wrap it up.
No, nothing to add now. Thanks to both you lads for coming on. Thanks for giving up your time. So hopefully we'll back a few winners. We'll have a good crack over there as well.
We'll see you over there.
Yeah, we will indeed. Thanks very much, lads. Appreciate it. Thank you. All the best.
And finds more now. and kicks away and up the hill. Vauban wins the JCB Triumph Hurdle.
Round the home turn, Davy Russell decides to send presenting Percy on now. It's a beautiful straight, 11 victories for Honeysuckle. She is the winner of the Unibet Champion Hurdle.
Heaven help us, runs riot to win the Coral Cup. Manella Indo is all out, flat out, but he wins the Gold Cup.